At one point in time, this watch was selling for 3 to 4 times its recommended retail price, and that's if you could even find one to buy. Fortunately, the world has recovered from its temporary insanity, and this is now regularly available at the normal price again. This is the Casio Tiffany, or as Casio call it, the Casio MPT-1302PD-2A2VEF. We'll do a quiz on that model number at the end. I hope you're taking notes. For the rest of the review though, we'll just refer to it as the Casio Tiffany. It's pretty much Casio's take on the Rolex Datejust. This one comes in at just £32 or around $60 rather than the £8,000 that the Rolex will cost you. That means that you could buy this instead of the Rolex and you'd still have enough left for 4 cinema tickets, drinks and popcorn. Just. I picked this one up used for just £14, so I figured I'd grab it and see how I liked it. We've got a 44mm ion-plated case with a quartz movement, mineral crystal and 50 meters of water resistance. It features a date complication and it comes on a stainless steel bracelet. Hold on though, is it a 44mm watch? No, it isn't. It's actually 38mm, but for some reason it regularly gets listed at 44mm, which it absolutely is not. Hold on again though, did I say ion plated? What the? Now I don't know a huge amount about ion plating. I did start reading up on it, but then I remembered that I had to go and watch some paint drying. I suspect it's a cheaper alternative to a stainless steel case, and I did notice that some fashion brand watches use it. Tommy Hilfiger, Hugo Boss and Calvin Klein to name a few. Now fashion brands aren't noted for using good components and materials when it comes to watches, so it's enough to make me worry. I'd imagine it's not as bad as the resin painted cases that Casio offers, but a long way short of stainless steel. If you're rough with your watches, you might want to think again on this one. I actually avoided buying this one for years because I thought it looked a little cheap and I expected it to feel cheap too, and it kinda does. But not quite as cheap as I expected it would. More on that in a bit. Let's talk about the design. We've got this rather fetching Tiffany blue dial, which makes it a bit of a statement watch. The colour really pops well and it looks great in person. You don't always know what you're getting with brightly coloured dials, as they can look a lot different in marketing shots than they do in reality. A bit like catfishing, but for products. This one holds up pretty well though. We've got applied markers for the hours and printed minute markers around the outside of the face. The dial is balanced well, but I've got a real problem with the serif typeface they use for the water resistance rating. It just looks a bit wrong, like they forgot to set the typeface when they designed it and it just defaulted to Times New Roman. There's no serif typeface anywhere else on this watch. It sticks out a little bit and for me it doesn't work. I'm nitpicking a bit there though. We also have a small date window which doesn't match the colour of the dial. To me this isn't an issue though, the white works pretty well. The hands are nicely designed fence post style with a little bit of Lume on them. I'll show a Lume time lapse in a bit. I really don't want to disappoint you this early on in the review. The case is fairly standard fare, but we do have a fluted bezel on this one that adds a little interest. Yeah, I didn't know what fluted meant either. I was just going to say it's got little grooves in it. I'm not totally convinced by it. I think this is what makes the watch look cheap. If we compare it to the Rolex fluted bezel, Rolex's just looks a little less fussy and is far better for it. I think it just needs less grooves. That could be a personal thing though. Interestingly enough, if you don't like the bezel, Casio do have a different model, which has more of a PRX case and some minimal other changes, but it's very similar. I'll show you that one a little bit later on. We've got a fairly bog standard stainless steel bracelet. It's not ion plated. It's not a best quality bracelet, but for the price, I don't really think you can complain too much. It does the job and it does it okay. The clasp has got 4 micro adjustment positions, which is great as it means you'll definitely be able to get a good fit on your wrist. Speaking of wrists, let's get this one on the wrist and take a look at it in action. At 38mm, it wears really well and it's slim too. It's sized for everyday use and it's going to wear very well under sleeves. Generally, it looks and feels good on. Maybe the Tiffany blue means that you need to be a bit more selective with your wardrobe when you're wearing it though. The colour does tend to clash unless you stick into neutral colours, but it looks great when you're wearing black as it just pops off your wrist. Not literally, that would be a terrible feature. Okay, it's time to take a look at the Lume. If you've watched a few of my reviews, you'll know that I pretty much always say the Lume is rubbish on the watches that I review, but Casio have really lowered the bar here. Sometimes I think it might not even be Lume at all, and that they're just putting some green tinted white paint on the hands of their watches and pretending that it's Lume. But here it is, and as you can see, it's weaker than Marvel's release schedule. It's very weak to start with, and it fades very quickly.
So what alternatives do we have to the Casio Tiffany? Well, we have the Casio MPT-1302PD-2A2VEF, another catchy model number from Casio. This one looks a bit more like the Tissot PRX, so we don't have the fluted bezel, but we've still got the Tiffany dial. There are a few differences here and there, but it's a very similar watch. Probably the biggest difference being the bracelet. It's slightly more expensive, coming in at around £50, and although it doesn't have any lume, it hardly puts it behind a Tiffany because the lume is so bad on it. So that's it. The Casio Tiffany, it's a cheap watch, it wears well, and the dial looks great. Look a bit closer though, and it's not really fooling anyone. This isn't one of those watches that looks way more expensive than it is. It kind of looks like what it is, a cheap watch. Thanks for watching. I did mention that I'll quiz you on the model number at the end of the video. Can you remember it? Nah, neither can I. Tiffany it is. I'll leave you with a compilation of some of my favourite Tiffany's. Thanks for watching.